Hello and welcome to this case study-driven webcast where we're going to be learning how online superstore lightbulbs.com has doubled shipping throughput during peak season without adding staff. Now, my name is Michael Evans, and I'm Group Editorial Director for Peerless Media's Supply Chain Group, and that includes, of course, Logistyx Management Magazine, and I'm going to be your moderator for this session that's being brought to you by Logistyx. Now, I don't think I have to remind anyone attending today's event of the many challenges facing logistics operations these days, especially during the frenzy of peak season. Now, volumes spike, costs and customer demands go through the roof, now not to mention the age-old puzzle of having the appropriate amount of staff on hand to help when logistics operations work through what feels like tidal wave after tidal wave. Now, if you, like thousands of other logistics professionals, are looking for ways to drive down peak season shipping costs without affecting customer service levels, then I think you've come to the right place today. Now, today we're going to be hearing from Paul McLellan, and Paul is president of lightbulbs.com, and he's going to be sharing how his company's logistics operations created an integrated shipping and dimensioning solution that enables their operations to absorb sudden large spikes in shipping volume and do so without adding additional staff, as I had mentioned. And that's certainly one of the most attractive hooks at Paul's story that he's going to share today, especially when you consider the labor crunch so many logistics operations are feeling at every level. Now, Paul is going to also be sharing how his team was able to simplify and speed up the shipping process while cutting those freight costs. And to top it off, the team was able to gain some much-needed visibility into its shipping activity, which is also going to be leading to even more improvements for future peaks. And Paul, we're thrilled to have you. And Paul is also going to be joined by Paula Heichel, and Paula is Vice President of Product Marketing at Logistyx Technologies. Now, Paula works very closely with customers like Paula to help uncover challenges and place proper solutions in those places to help shippers move ahead. And welcome, Paula. We're thrilled to have you as well. Now, Paul, you have a terrific story to tell. So now the podium is yours. Let's hear all about it.
All right, so I run and operate lightbulbs.com as a business. We've been around since 1951 here in the Minneapolis area. We're actually a third-generation company started by my grandfather. We've been online since '96, one of the first companies to start selling on the Internet, and so we've been there since the beginning and have been kind of intimately connected to all of the changes and pitfalls and necessities in selling online and shipping products across the country. We have a very vast inventory, over 100,000 SKUs in our online catalog, and since our inception, we've been proud to have served over 1 million businesses and homes, and we're continuing to grow. And so I'd love to talk about how we've used this solution to help us handle our growth. And our big challenge as a business is that we are seasonal. We sell Christmas lights, Christmas products. Also selling light bulbs, there's the facet of daylight savings, which can create more burn time for products. And so in fourth quarter, we see a great uptick in Christmas lights, Christmas products, and even light bulbs because people are burning lights more. And so our volume can sometimes triple, quadruple. So we've had the long-standing challenge of how do we handle our business going from 750, 800 orders a day to 2,000 to 3,000. And fourth quarter for us has, for many years, been kind of a nightmare situation as we never had a way of handling that growth, of exponentially attacking this sudden increase that starts, between October and November. We would add staff, we would add part-timers, we'd pretty much take anybody that was in the office, have them come back and help out. Overtime was so expensive for us that it would actually eat into all the profits that we would gain from this increase in volume. So historically, we've had multiple carriers implemented on our shipping stations, and it was very difficult to maintain from an IT perspective, keeping these 3 carrier solutions up to date on 6 different workstations. They were also not automated at all. So for us to get the best possible rate, we'd have to manually key in all of the dimensions and weights for each order in each carrier platform. Aside from being extremely time-consuming, there was the whole aspect of it being susceptible to mistakes and errors. And so it was not a great solution. It's what worked best for us. And so we would take an order, we would type in the dimensions, we would key in the weights, and then we would replicate that same process in 3 different programs. For us, we used USPS through their Indicia Professional platform. We use Speedy Delivery for the upper Midwest metro area here, and then we would use FedEx internationally. It was a huge bottleneck for us. We would have orders that were, piled in mounds trying to get scanned out, trying to get processed on the trucks, and they all sat in that scanning area with these 6 stations. And so there were times where we would have 6 full-time employees just trying to scan these orders out to get that label printed and attached to the box. So we were thrilled with the solution here of Logistyx Ship It. The software plus the 2 hardware pieces that are absolutely vital for this solution and for our business really made this work. So at its core, it's the Logistyx Ship It shipping software. We use 2 iDimensioners because we moved from 6 stations down to 2. And then we use the Size It Bluetooth tape measure device for handling all of our large boxes. Since we are a lighting distributor, we're shipping 4 to 8 foot fluorescent and LED tubes. We're also shipping a lot of Christmas trees, anywhere from 5 feet to 30 foot. And so the Size It device allows us to very quickly get the length, width, height of these and Bluetooth it over to the Ship It software. The iDimensioner itself is the most amazing piece of hardware that I've seen in a long time, and it basically marries with this Ship It software to give us everything that we need for getting that shipment processed, and it does it automatically. Because of this great solution with Ship It, we actually kind of fell back on ourselves to create and improve some of our flows. Everything was so automated and streamlined that we actually created some customized documentation that then allowed us to leverage every piece of automation and time saving that Ship It would allow us. So we actually created a custom pick ticket that has a removable sticker at the top right, and we're able to use this document to pick the order. We're able to tie it into all of our data, show the photo of the SKU that the person is picking. So we pick the order, we'll fold it, use it as a receipt for the consumer inside of the box, and then the barcode itself is a removable sticker that we then put on the outside of the box. So we were able to shave off 50% of the packing and scanning time involved in getting the paperwork in the box and then getting the information to the carrier software to ship it out by using a customized, very thin pick ticket process. So we then take that removable sticker, put it on the box, and as we're using Ship It to scan it out, we've got the barcode right there that has the order number embedded into it that we then use for shipping out the order. So here's some more information on how everything is working here and integrated. For our process here, and you'll see it here soon with a video clip, we've got 2 stations now where the iDimensioner is hooked up directly to Ship It. And so as soon as we set the box kind of on the cradle on the scale that sits right next to the iDimensioner, it grabs the length, width, height, and the weight from the scale, and it shoots it directly into this program. So as we're scanning out our orders, it goes into our ERP, gets the address, it gets the dimensions from the iDimensioner, and then it gets the weight from the scale. And so it gets all that information in probably somewhere between a half second and a full second, and then it goes out to Rate Shop and give us the best possible rate, and then we have it configured to automatically select that carrier and print a label. It's actually at a point now where you probably could not make it go any faster, and that's from an ownership point of view, from a distribution point of view, that's really what you want to see. It's what you want to hear because that translates to dollars. So we replaced this extremely manual process with complete automation using this intuitive, customizable software that then ties into this really cutting-edge hardware. At the end, once you process your shipment, we have it auto-upload all of those dimensions then to our system so we can use it for analytics and reporting later on. So right now with Ship It, the way it worked for us is that we were able to take all the carriers that we were using previously, where we had standalone installations of Speedy, of Indicia Professional, of FedEx, using FedEx as Ship Manager. And that was, installed and supported on 6 different shipping stations, and now that's all on one platform, on a server instance where it actually connects to these 2 stations. And so we're able to leverage ShipIt system to add those carriers and still use our relationship and accounts with those carriers to utilize our rates, our brokered rates, and then use it for rate shopping. Really the magic, I think, of ShipIt comes with rate shopping. Being someone who has to watch the bottom line, and when you're dealing with, peak season, 2,000 to 3,000 orders a day, the pennies matter. They absolutely matter. They add up. And so rate shopping was one of the selling points of ShipIt that we really kind of held on to and focused on making our winning platform. And so rate shopping, the way that we have it configured, is built on a couple different metrics, a little bit of customization in there where we will tell it to use the following carriers to rate shop. And then when you rate shop, you can also say, for FedEx, make sure you're rate shopping it with the residential surcharge added in. And so you're trying to arrive at this net landed cost so there's no surprises later on. We know that all the carriers are going to get it there in 2 to 3 days. I just want the best possible rate. This move alone that we had been doing manually, the manual move would save us approximately $200,000 to $300,000 a year. And so we are able to still achieve that, but do it automatically. So instead of having somebody manually look up every order in 3 different carriers, typing in the dimensions and the weight manually, it now does everything automatically. So we're still able to achieve those savings without having to spend that labor to get to it. Rate shopping is absolutely paramount for distribution, especially when you're dealing with thousands of packages per day. The way that it interfaces with the different APIs or server installs of, say, Speedy, USPS through Indicia or Stamps.com, FedEx, and even UPS, we use UPS for third-party shipments, is really fast. It's very seamless, and then you get that automatic label that is specific to the carrier, and then we have it branded. So we're able to get our logo then on every single label. Another one of the interesting pieces here with having insight into this data is the ability to take the data that was captured at the time of shipment and then leverage that later on. Sure, there are carriers like USPS through Indicia or Stamps.com or smaller carriers like Speedy Delivery, where what you see at the time of shipment is what you are billed. Sometimes you just pay up front even. But then there are larger carriers like FedEx and UPS, which, despite being phenomenal carriers, they will bill you later, and their billing does not always match the data that you have. We didn't realize how critical this process was, and we didn't realize how important it was to audit this and how many discrepancies can exist. So we're able to take this very granular level of detail that is captured through ShipIt and then compare it later on to the bills that we get from FedEx. We have used this, and we had to create some custom reporting, but we've used this data to identify tens of thousands of dollars per year in overcharges. So much to the dismay sometimes of our FedEx reps, but obviously they want it to be accurate, but we're able to present to them and then receive credits back because it's irrefutable information. They have kind of signed off on, they've seen this ShipIt system. It's a supported program on their list. They've seen the iDimensioner, and it is a legitimate, valid capturing device, and they can see then how their system is actually obtaining incorrect information. So we can use it for auditing our bills, which is really big for us because when you're dealing with tens of thousands per year in overcharges, who wouldn't want to capture that and get it credited back? We're also able to use it to figure out, are we doing something incorrectly? Are we shipping it out incorrectly? Are we scanning it out wrong? Is there something on the scale? Is something obstructing the view? We have all this data that we then capture and look at on a daily basis to figure out what we need to do. Here's what our carrier needs to do. Here's what we need to do. And then lastly, we can figure out what are we losing money on, because we're capturing the actual freight charges and kind of the inner construct of those charges, base rate plus discount plus fuel surcharge, kind of all these different granular level details of what makes up your billed rate. What are we charging our customer? If we're being billed at 12 and we're charging our customer 8, and it always happens on the same SKU, I want to know that so I can either increase the freight, increase the sell price, maybe stop selling the item, figure out where the breakdown is. And so myself, I look at a report every day to figure out where are we losing money on freight. I didn't have that data before, and now I do, and we were able to reduce our quantity of orders that we ship out at a loss by a good 5–10%, and that, again, is massive savings for us as a business. Here's an example of the report that I've built for comparing our actual costs versus the costs that they should have been or that they were stated at the time of shipment. It's extremely helpful because what I'll do is I will compare even what ship it and the I-dimensioner captured as it was leaving our building versus what we were being billed. And so you can see in the first example, I'm actually even rendering out the box sizes. And as we've seen happen many times in the past with FedEx and UPS, they can sometimes scan your box perhaps next to another box, and then it draws a larger rectangle around it. And so I'm able to use this information as verified proof that something did not go as expected. So in that first example, you can see that our planned dimensions as they were captured by Ship It and the I-dimensioner, or perhaps it was even the size at Bluetooth device, was 52 by 8 by 8, and yet we were scanned out with FedEx's facility and billed for a 53 by 12 by 12. We sent out, in this case, an additional box because they'd ordered a couple items, a 14 by 6 by 6. They ended up erroring out on that one. They didn't scan it at anything. And so then we could go, well, did they add it to the first one? Did they miss it altogether? The bottom line is at the top right there, you can see that we were overcharged by $5.86. Now, $5 here, $2 there, it may seem inconsequential, but again, when you're dealing with thousands of orders, these numbers absolutely add up. And there can be a particular inch that will throw you into a higher dimmed out rate. The next example right in the middle there, we shipped out a 16 cube, right? It bumped it up into a rated weight of 34 pounds because it actually dimmed it out at 17 by 17 by 16. Now, is that due to bloat? Is it due to the box, maybe the tape coming off and it sticking out? Lots of variables here, right? But at least it gives us the information that the rate that we went to market with on this particular item here, where it was an overnight box, so it was excessive shipping, we had planned on 188.66. We were billed out at 205.72. Therefore, it allows our inventory auditor and our FedEx auditor to look at this and go, well, I've got $17 where I think I was overcharged. And so it allows us to then have that very intelligent conversation with FedEx. So we can show them actual data and dig into what went wrong. Now, the last example, it came out very close. We had a 24 cube. They rated it at 25 by 24 by 25. We had 20.6 pounds. They rounded it up to 21. So those are fairly inconsequential. But then again, I can look at this and go, well, we're still off by $21. What happened? So this isn't so much an issue of them reading the dimensions and the weight incorrectly. There might be something else going on. Now, this is only possible, this level of insight into the data is only possible because we have the data captured at the front end from Ship It and from the I-dimensioner. And so we're able to take that data and figure out, did you guys rate this incorrectly? Is there something that we did wrong? Do we have something wrong in our contract? Like our rate table's not downloading into FedEx Ship Manager. If you've looked at a FedEx or UPS invoice, a detailed invoice, it is a massive CSV or Excel file that would take you hours to comb through. It's great. It has all the data there. But what good is that data if you cannot compare it against source data? Ship It captures every little detail that you need so you can compare the two and actually figure out where the issues lie. This next slide here I want to show you is a video clip actually of the process in action. And it's shockingly simple, but I think that's the beauty of it. So right here you can see that I've got just one person scanning out packages at the moment. And again, we used to have 6 stations. So she's able to take the package, set it on the scale there. You can see the I-dimensioner. Within a half second, it's grabbing the dimensions of the one she just set on there. Right? She'll scan the barcode for it, and then it will actually go in, log into the software, go into the different shipping carriers, figure out the rate shop, and spit out the label. it's so fast, we could have one person go through easily 1,000+ packages per day. With the box, you scan it, it has the weight, has the dimensions, it's getting the order information from the ERP, it spits out whatever label we need it to be. And so then the label that prints out is the cheapest carrier option. So it really is simple. It happens in seconds. It's error-free because we are removing that human element of keying in dimensions, of keying in the weights, of selecting the appropriate carrier. And so we're able to handle all that volume with 2 stations instead of 6, using 1 program instead of 3. The training is incredibly easy. Within a couple hours, we can take somebody brand new, we can onboard them, bring them back there, and show them how to scan in orders. The hardest part of that job now is the FedEx orders go in bin A, USPS goes in bin in the second bin, and so that's really the only variable in that process now, where it used to be this incredibly complex diagram of figuring out what to do if the order is this. If it's residential, add this surcharge on in your mind, and then pick this shipping method. Now it does all that thinking for you. All the heavy lifting happens in the customization and integration of that software. It's automated. Automation is huge for us. It's huge for anybody who's focusing on distribution and watching their bottom line. Anything that you can automate that's a repetitive step, we can create almost AI to do the work for you, that's where the savings lie. That's where they exist. Being configurable was great because we were able to say, you know what, we don't want this option. This is making it a little too complex. Take this off. And so we were able to create a really thinned down solution that, again, allowed us to train quicker because it wasn't this fatiguing, complex program. It was, here are the buttons that you need to do your job. Here's where the little scan form is. Here's where you would override something over here. Here's how you might do an international. But it's not this complex bells and whistles everywhere. It's a really thin solution that ties into that hardware and automatically helps us rate shop.
And the fact that you made it sound so simple, and you made, and we saw it there in the video clip, we watched it in action. But there are a few questions rolling in right now that have to do with, hey, that looks awesome. How do you get there? So I'm going to remind everybody in attendance today, please keep those questions rolling in. We're going to be, we have a little bit of time here for a Q&A session. So if we don't get to your question today, we're going to move that question over to Paul and the logistics team, and they'll be able to get back to you via email with any kind of answer. So a few questions rolling in here, Paul, as we kind of wrap things up. And again, terrific job walking us through that. Now, from the technology side, a lot of our folks who are attending today, they're on the fence. They want to make an automated type of move. So from the technology side, explain a little bit more, how the system works. A couple of questions here rolling in. Hey, is that software? Is it something you've installed? Is it in the cloud? How does the software work, or how does that system work?
Sure. Well, I know it can be a server install or on the cloud. We chose to have a physical server install, and so we've got the Ship It server installed in our server room here in our facility, and then the 2 stations there have a client that are installed, and it just simply connects to that data source connection. It's really quick and easy. Like for myself, I can deploy a new station if I had to in probably 3 to 5 minutes. Whereas before, I would have to install and configure and set up FedEx Ship Manager and Indicia Professional and Speedy, and I'd have to actually involve our carrier's technological sales rep to come in and help me get it set up because it was so complex. So it's easy enough for me to install on a station, or I can call their support, have me walk through an issue if I have one, but it simply resides on our server, and then the 2 stations that you saw in the video are just 2 quick client installs.
Gotcha. Hey, there was a quick question that just rolled in as you were rolling through that, Paul, if you don't mind. What was the key factor then in keeping it on premise as opposed to going to the cloud? Was there anything that pushed you one direction or the other?
Sure, you get a little bit more control, speed. I mean, I'm all about automation and rate shopping, and I really wanted to get those packages out the door as quick as possible. I love the cloud. We do a lot on the cloud as a business, but you could deal with some sort of internet latency if your internet connection is not strong. Time is of the essence for us. I wanted to get those orders out as quick as possible.
Yep, that makes total sense. A couple of questions rolled in here, and actually I was really interested in a little overwhelmed thinking about that move from manual to automated, right? You mentioned that a couple times. To me, boy, talk about an ice cream headache. Imagine, I can't even imagine what you guys had gone through to go from that manual process to automated. Can you share a little bit more about that transition? What went into that transition? How long did it take? Who was involved? That's, from the outside, it seems like a pretty overwhelming process.
Yeah, I mean, it was years of figuring out what worked and what didn't work with doing it manually. And again, I'll go back to the rate shopping being really important, because the carriers at their base level, you can like we're in Minnesota, we can probably get it anywhere in the 48 states within 2 to 3 days. It wasn't a time of transit; It was a time of cost. Everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. And so we had to focus, and it was one of the hardest things to do in our warehouse, and it was probably the highest trained position back there, is scanning out an order. It was very fatiguing, and our warehouse staff actually got stressed out doing it because they didn't want to cost the company money. But you could make a grave mistake that could be $8 swing per order if you're going between say FedEx home delivery to first class through USPS. It could be an $8 swing, and so there was that mental fatigue of always trying to pick the right carrier. You'd have to load it up into all these different stations, get the rate. All right, now which carrier do I choose? Knowing full well that some of them may assess fees later on or surcharges. And so it was exhausting. And when we actually did the first demo of the rate shopping back there, we had the whole warehouse back there, and everybody literally cheered. Everybody was just like, this is so great. Now I don't have to worry and stress out about, am I going to, miskey something here, choose the wrong carrier, and really get in trouble or cost the company a lot of money. And so it was very bizarre and weird transitioning to a really heavy manual process to it was almost kind of eerie how simple it was. But by setting it up right, configuring it, and testing, here we are now a couple years later, and it works. It flat out does. We've audited it. Everything is working, and it performs as intended.
Yeah, that's outstanding, and I know for a lot of attendees, that's probably one of the areas where often you get hung up, right? Geez, how long is this going to take? And that change am I going to throw anybody off in that position? But geez, it's so easy to make a mistake. But now it's not. That's terrific. So in terms of a couple questions,
I was just going to say we remove the human element to where it's the human element of fatigue, and it's the human element of errors. And so there's a part of really kind of embracing, AI and what it can do for us. And I look at this in the form of AI because of the customized code, the tie-ins through the carriers that we select, and then the iDimensioner. I mean, it's using some really amazing technology to replace that extremely repetitive step. And the cool part is we're able to take our staff then and say, all right, here are things that technology cannot replace. Let's focus on that. This is what humans do really well. Let's put all of our time and energy into this, and let the robots do their thing.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's a great way to think about it, and very, very smart. As far as time to get up and running on the software and hardware, once you made the decision, it seems like it was pretty quick, right? Once you made the decision.
Sure. We had been looking at a couple different solutions, and when we decided to go this route after seeing the demo through a WebEx, we pretty much signed that day when we saw the rate shopping, the automation, how the label just came right out with the appropriate carrier. And I would say within 60 days we were up and running 100%. And so you've got you've got all of the delays that you'd expect with any kind of a software integration, but we were aggressive with it on our end because we saw the savings. And for us, even with the volume that we had, easily within about 2 months, we were able to transition everything over.
Yeah, that's impressive in a short period of time. And you mentioned, out there shopping, a couple of questions that rolled in about, hey, what were some of the things that Paul had in mind when you were out, looking for an integrated shipping solution like this? Were there some things that you were looking for and that this particular solution met immediately? What were those keys that you were looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because when we started this process of looking at solutions, cost was one of them. And it quickly became one of the least important ones because it was all about performance and return on investment. And so we had actually chosen another solution a couple months before this because it was cheaper on paper, and it was also much cheaper in functionality, and it didn't do anything that we wanted it to do. So we scrapped it, circled back to this, and we dug in and did some more demos, really tried to understand what the solution is doing. And the more we dug into it, the more we were blown away. And so we started out with cost being important. It was no longer a number one driving factor. For us, it was the automatic capturing of dimensions because you don't just have the time saving, you have the accuracy piece.
Yep.
I mean, you could have a killer interface that allowed you to select from a drop-down list of your most popular box sizes. You could have a fast typist who can 10-key in the dimensions. That's just the speed element. How about the accuracy element? And you still have to get those dimensions. Well, do you look at the box? Do you tape measure it? It was this iDimensioner that was kind of the icing on the cake that took that business intelligence that was inside of ShipIt, and it's really a perfect marriage. For us, one definitely depends on the other, and it's a yin-yang of actual shipping perfection.
Yeah. Wow, that's fantastic. I mean, perfection. I mean, you've a couple of years now. Any issues or glitches you had to work through with the team at Logistyx, or it sounds like it's pretty smooth.
No, we've sent out between 150 and 200,000 packages through the system. We haven't had any issues with Logistyx. Of course, when you depend on carriers, that can sometimes malfunction. There's times where Indicia is down. That's nothing that this shipping solution, can really help. That would exist whether we're using a standalone Indicia program or not. But with this system performing, it's like a well-oiled machine. It's done exactly what we want it to, and it's quiet, and it just kind of purrs in the background, and we just throw the volume through it. Yeah. Hey, just one quick question as we have to kind of start wrapping up here, Paul. In terms of carriers, what did you have to go through to gain, carrier acceptance of the dimensioning system's measurements? Was there any kind of back and forth there, or how did that work? It was actually really easy. We were actually told about this system initially from our USPS rep. He was looking at ways of helping us improve our congestion in shipping. He'd been back there many times, and we gave him a lot of volume, and he wanted more, and he believed that by implementing rate shopping, he'd get more volume, and he did. Yeah. And so he actually brought this to the table for us. He had been researching rate shopping platforms, and he had vetted this one and said, I think this is one that you need to take a look at. And then with FedEx, it's on a list of their acceptable, integration partners. And so they looked at it, we brought it up to them, and they said, absolutely, we will sign off on all of this because they're a compliant partner. Wow, great! They were in your corner, and that's fantastic. It makes it a lot easier. And again, a lot of our attendees, just they're on the fence. That's why they're attending today. They want to see how it worked for you, and that's a good one. We do have a number of questions still rolling in, Paul. We do have to wrap up here in a minute or two, and I want to remind everybody who's submitted questions. Thank you, first of all, and we'll make sure that Paul and the Logistyx team will actually be able to get back to you via email with those questions. Just to wrap things up, Paul, maybe for those folks who are attending today, now inspired, seeing what you guys were able to do, and the way it is purring in the background, saving you money, helping on the labor costs, and everybody's cheering and happy. That's fantastic. To get there though, to help those folks, what are one or two key takeaways you'd like to have really resonate from what you shared with us today for those folks, maybe on the fence or ready to take that first step towards automating this system? Well, anytime that you're in the distribution industry and you're dealing with quantity and you got a velocity of perhaps hundreds of orders of shipments per day, you have to step back and analyze the whole process, and you have to look at the manual element. You got to look at the human interaction. What am I doing? What am I repeating every day? And that's what it was for us as we really dug in, analyzed our process. Where are we wasting time? And it was this congestion where we thought, the data's there. I mean, the box dimensions are in front of us. The weight is on the scale. You have all these carriers. You have all this amazing technology. How do you, mash it all together and have it do its thing? It's sitting right in front of us, and yet we have to keep repeating these processes hundreds to thousands of times per day. And it was just this, long, aggressive research process of who else has these pain points. Has anybody else, come up with a solution on this? And that's what, through a kind of a winding road led us to this, where it's a group of people that have created a solution that understand these pain points. You have multiple carriers. It's not just one carrier. You don't have to rate shop, but if you do, here's how you do it. And man, is it beautiful. It's a really cool thing. And you want to reduce that manual overhead, that labor, that for us, that massive overtime cost by capturing all this data that's sitting right in front of you. Then you use this iDimensioner to do it. And the iDimensioner takes that information and sends it immediately to this program. And then this program uses that data, and it needs that data. To get that shipment out, to compare it, to rate shop it, it needs that data. And then it does it for you. Gives you your label. Right. You're compliant. You have good data. You can audit your billing better. For us, the return on investment was a matter of months. It was something that was one of the biggest no-brainer investments that we've made in the past 5 to 10 years. Wow.
Well, that's terrific. Well, Paul McLellan, president of lightbulbs.com. Paul, great job today in sharing your success story. And I know a lot of folks out there appreciate it, and hopefully we pushed a few folks over that fence to go in this direction and to take some of that stress and anxiety out of that, very repetitive part of this process. So, Paul, great job. Thank you again.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.
Yep, thank you. And for everybody out there, guys, we're going to capture all those questions that have come in and move those over to Paul and also the Logistyx team if we can answer the questions. So again, Paul McLellan, great job, and I want to thank everybody for attending. So I hope everybody got a little bit something out of this today. I know I did. That was just terrific. Thanks again, and have a great day.